What's up everybody, OGP back with you for another video. Today we are reviewing a Criterion that I received in the mail recently from my main man, super villain Pete, aka Esteban. Thank you very much again, homeboy, for sending this out. This is John Travolta and Nancy Allen in a 1981 movie called Blowout, and it's, I guess, about a sound recording guy, maybe like in a movie or TV business, that thinks he accidentally recorded a political assassination, if I read that right. I don't know much about this. I have heard this is one that I should have in my collection. Esteban heard that, and boom, he sent it out. So here it is. Boom. We've got, of course, like any good Criterion, booklet here with some pictures and some knowledge about the movie, which I'll read on my own time. I won't bore you with all those details, but I'm going to check this out right now. It's a Blu-ray disc, directed by Brian De Palma, and also starring John Lithgow, Dennis Franz. Wow. Wow, this is going to be good. Love me some John Lithgow. Man, okay. Well, here we go. I'm going to pop it in, and I'll let you know what I think. Movies, timeline, chapters, supplements. Let's just dive right in. Hi, you see me over there? Oh yeah, we're joined by the birds as well. They're here. And Jam. MGM has a great buffet in Vegas.
Two hours later.
Just like that, this has been blown out. Just got done with Blowout, starring John Travolta and Nancy Allen. I won't talk spoilers right now. We'll get into that in just a moment. But this was a good movie. I'm happy to own this. I appreciate Mr. Supervillain for sending it to me. It wasn't the greatest movie ever, but it was a pretty damn good movie, and I have some questions about it. So thankfully, having a Criterion copy, there's a little booklet inside. Maybe that will answer some of my questions, or the special features. If I watch those, I can get some answers. But basically, you've got a story about a sound guy for a indie film company, and he's out one night getting some like room tone or just, you know, random sounds or whatever for his like catalog, you know, his library of sounds that he can put on movies. And so he's just got his microphone, he's out doing, you know, recording stuff. And this is like I think the movie came out in 81, so, you know, figured the technology back then. He's out recording this stuff in a really cool location on a bridge with like a bigger bridge behind and everything. And he witnesses a crash, and then he dives in the river where the car crashes into to try to save the people. And the story goes from there. And I won't get into spoilers yet, like I said, but it was an interesting story. It was very well thought out. I like how you know, they gave him a good reason for being there. You know, everything kind of made sense, rather than going like, well, why did this happen? Or what, you know, what was this or that? So I thought the story was really well put together, but there were still some questions I had. As far as a movie from, we're talking 41, 42 years ago, it was really well shot. The sound is great and everything. And don't get me wrong, there's movies made in the 60s and probably before that that are really well, you know, put together really well. But this one, I don't know, for what it was, I was just very surprised. The picture quality here, and I've never seen this before, so I don't know what the picture quality looked like, if it was on DVD, VHS, or just on TV. But this looked great. The picture quality was amazing. The sound was great. I really enjoyed it. And obviously, John Travolta, John Lithgow, and Nancy Allen here, you have a great cast. And the locations were really cool as well. It takes place in Philadelphia, kind of around I think they call it Liberty Day, and I don't know what that is. If that's like, a special day that Philadelphia really does or not, around like a celebration of the Liberty Bell. I don't know if that normally happens or not, but it takes place around Philadelphia, a bunch of different locations, and it's I love looking at old school New York when you see movies made back in the 70s or 80s. Philadelphia is one of those cities it's also cool to see back in the day, and this had a lot of that, so I really enjoyed it. And the plot it's kind of a murder mystery action, bit of a thriller drama. I mean, it's a lot of different things going on. And so with that, I'm going to give this a 7.5 out of 10. I don't know if I can get to an 8 on this because of some of the questions I had about it, which I'll get into in the spoilers, and I think maybe we'll just go ahead and dive into that now. So if you do not want to be spoiled about the movie Blowout on Criterion, probably a good idea to stop this video now. You can come back later and watch my thoughts after you watch Blowout. Or if you don't care, because the movie's 41 years old. Yeah, 1981 it says right here. 41 years old. If you don't care about spoilers, stay tuned. So you've got John Travolta, and he's the sound guy. And Nancy Allen is a pawn in a big scheme, a political scheme, where somebody paid a guy, and this is kind of like her, I don't know if pimp is the right word, but her, like a handler kind of guy, where Nancy Allen's character and this guy, they go around and set up prominent public figures. And she gets into bed with them, he comes in, takes pictures, and they blackmail or screw over these people. This is happening. Nancy Allen's character is in a car with a presidential candidate. He's like the governor. And while she's riding in the car with him, after they already got the video setting him up, somebody shoots out the tire of the car crashes. Luckily, John Travolta's character was there, or else she would have drowned in the car with the governor guy as well. John Travolta was able to save her, but the governor guy died in the crash. So they get out and they go to the hospital, and all the police are like, what girl? Because John Travolta's running around the hospital looking for her. And they're like, everybody's like, what girl? And so already the cover-up has begun. And right off the bat, you don't know that Nancy Allen's character, Sally, is kind of crooked and working with this guy to set people up. You find out later on that, yeah, she is crooked, but she was not in on the conspiracy to kill this governor, this presidential candidate. She was just like a pawn, and she didn't know it. So then she's like kind of torn. What do I do? Do I help John Travolta figure this out, or do I not? John Lithgow's character starts popping in, and he's kind of covering the tracks of this assassination attempt. Well, assassination. And you find out that from the people that were basically Lithgow's bosses, that they didn't want this guy killed. They just wanted the conspiracy of him with the hooker. John Lithgow's character takes it on his own to actually kill the guy, because he's like, I don't want this guy to be president, and let's get him out of the race. So he kind of goes overboard and does the killing. Well, then the people that John Lithgow works for are like, we're done with you, don't ever talk to us, you weren't supposed to go that far. He's like, well, but we still got a lot of tracks to clean up. So then John Lithgow's character is still going around trying to pick up the pieces to make sure this, is, that nobody finds out what really happened. The last thing he needs to do is, he knows there's a tape. He needs to get the tape, and he wants to kill the girl, Nancy Allen's character, Sally. He wants to kill Sally because, she knows too much. But what he's doing is he's killing a bunch of other prostitutes that kind of look like Sally to make it appear as though this is not related to the governor, but this is just some pervert who likes killing prostitutes that look a certain way. that was all kind of cool. And there was a bunch of different levels to what was going on in the movie, so I really enjoyed that. One thing that happened at the end was, whether you expect or don't expect Sally's character to live at the end, and this is the biggest spoiler of them all, she does not live. She gets killed by John Lithgow at the very end, and then Travolta shows up and kills John Lithgow. But when Lithgow kills Sally, she's wearing a wire that John Travolta can hear, and he's like trying to find out where they are based on the sounds he's hearing so he can go save her, which was really cool. It made for an interesting kind of like fun chase kind of scene there at the end. At the very, very, very end of the movie, you see John Travolta's character, being the sound guy for movies, uses her real scream as she's dying in a movie, which at the very beginning of the movie, kind of like plot, John Travolta was working with this other guy making a movie, and they just couldn't get a girl to scream good. There was like a shower scene where guys coming in to kill her in the movie they were making, the movie within the movie, and they could not get a good scream from the actress. So at the very end of the movie, John Travolta has the audio recording of this girl, Sally, being murdered, who he had fallen in love with throughout the course of the movie. And so then he uses that sound in the movie for the scream because it is authentic. And then you see him sitting there conflicted at the very last scene of the movie, being conflicted, obviously about using the scream and the pain that he's experiencing, knowing that she was really dying then at that point. So on many different levels, this was a good movie. Production value, story, acting, everything. It was really good. I really liked it. But some of the issues I had with it were, at one point, there is a magazine released with pictures of the car crashing when the governor and Sally are in the car. And it's, a whole bunch of pictures as the car is going off the road. Well, John Travolta is able to, take all those pictures, cut them out, make a little flippy thing where he actually sees the car driving off the cliff in, it looks like a movie. So he takes pictures of them, puts them on a, film roll, and then turns it into a movie. I'm sorry, but there weren't nearly enough frames there to actually make that movie. Maybe in 1981 we wouldn't, have the knowledge that couldn't work. But today, with cameras and editing equipment, everything we know, it's just obvious that would not have worked. There would not have been enough pictures there to make it the full thing without it jumping around, because it was really smooth. Then there was a scene where John Travolta is telling Sally about his past, how he got into filmmaking and sound and stuff. And he's talking about how he worked for the cops, and he would wire people and listen to, their interactions with the mob and stuff. And there's a guy that he wired, and he's got the battery pack down here, the microphone up here. Well, the battery pack, as the guy's sweating, the battery pack starts to kind of heat up and burn the guy. So he tells, he's riding in his car, and he tells the mob boss guy, pull over, I need to go to the bathroom. He gets out, goes into the bathroom. John Travolta figures out what's going on. He's like, I gotta go help him. Well, the cop that John Travolta's with is like, no. So they're kind of arguing for a minute. I said arguing. And then eventually John Travolta gets out of the car and goes into the bathroom. Well, right before that happens, you see the mob boss guy come out of the bathroom. By the time John Travolta gets in there, the guy is strung up and hung by the wire that he was wearing. The problem with that is that would have taken some time to do. This took place within a minute, maybe two. There's no way you're getting that dude hung up like that quickly. Sorry, it's impossible. So that kind of bugged me. I would have rather the mob boss just shot the guy and left. And at the end of the movie, John Travolta has been in touch with a news reporter guy who, for everything we learned in the movie, we believe he probably was not in on it. He wasn't a bad guy. He was just a news reporter. John Travolta was supposed to get him a copy of the film. He was going to play publicly and kind of out what was going on, kind of bring the conspiracy to light. So John Travolta was trying to get him the tape. Well, Lithgow's character kind of infiltrates John Travolta's apartment, puts like a little thing on his phone line so phone calls won't come through, and Travolta's waiting for the reporter to call. Then Lithgow calls the chick, Sally, and tells her, hey, I'm the reporter guy. John Travolta's not answering his phone, so will you bring me the tape and, and come alone? And so she goes over to Travolta's place and is like, hey, he called me and said to bring the tape. And Travolta's like, well, why you alone? And she's like, well, yeah, I don't know. Maybe he wants to talk to me to convince me to go on TV, because she didn't want to go on TV. So John Travolta's like, nah, something's not right. Something's not right. I'm going to wire you. And then, so as audience, we're paying attention. The last time we saw Travolta wire somebody, they died. So now we're like, ooh, okay, is she going to get killed in this? Which she does. So that was a bad thing. And so I'm sure he regrets that, because now he's wired 2 people and both of them have been killed. So Travolta's like, okay, if you're going to do this, we're going to wire you up and I'm going to stay close. But then they get out and where the girl's supposed to meet Lithgow, and Travolta stays in the car and he's like listening. And then once he realizes, well, this is not the real reporter, he gets out and starts to go in after him. Well, by this point it's too late and they're gone. He can never catch up to him before she gets killed. And I'm just like, why would he let her go that far away on her own? Why wouldn't he have been closer, kind of followed someone? Or are you just going to sit in the car in a big train station? So I was like, we're setting up failure here. And that kind of bugged me. If there was like, okay, you go inside and I'll go in a couple minutes later, and so Travolta was intending on going in, that would have been more plausible, and then you figure out a different way that they get separated. Okay, fine. But the fact that he just sat in the car and let her go was like, it just made the whole ending a little too easy for me. I would have liked to have seen a little bit better writing at that point in the story to get us there. Again, 7.5 out of 10 is a great score, but like I said, it was a good movie, but, and I was on the edge of my seat for a lot of it, but it wasn't as riveting as some movies I've seen. Part of that could have been the fact it's 41 years old. Part of that could have been, some of the errors. And these, like, whodunits or wrongly accused movies, sometimes I'm not the biggest fan of those style movies. Although this one, being that type of movie, was done pretty well. There was one other question that didn't ever get addressed. It popped up and then it didn't get addressed. And that is, all John Travolta's tapes at one point in his office were erased. Because he's a sound guy. He's got these tapes everywhere. Somebody came into the office and erased them. Luckily, the tape he needed, the important one with the evidence, was elsewhere. But when he figures out all his tapes have been erased, he goes to the receptionist chick, like, who did somebody come in here? And she's like, oh, well, some guy. And he's like, what guy? He's all upset now. She's like, well, I don't like your tone. And she just leaves. And we drop it. We never bring that back up for him to kind of put together. And of course, if we did, he would have already figured out, okay, well, there's a bad guy coming to, get us and stuff. We need to be maybe a little more careful. But if this is all going on and the government is this dead set on making sure this is covered up, you better be a lot more careful than you were. So just kind of dropping that whole oh, well, somebody was in my office, took the time to erase all my tapes, and then we don't ever go back to kind of wrap up that part of the story, that kind of bugged me a little bit too. Kind of one of the interesting things about this is we never really learn too much about John Lithgow's boss. We see him on a phone call at one point, but who's his boss? Or what was really the motive? Was it just they didn't want this guy to be president? Was it because this guy was running, like, apparently the same political party as the guy who was currently president. So were they saying that the president of the United States did not want this other guy to win, so he kind of started this whole thing? Or, people that work for him did this? So it leaves a lot of questions like that are interesting. And those are not questions that I would be disappointed about with the movie. Those are questions that are like designed to make you think. And a movie or TV show that makes you walk away going, that's interesting. I wonder what caused this or that, or, letting you answer those on your own or come to your own conclusions. That stuff is fun. I like that stuff. Questions of like, why didn't we go back and ask the clerk or the receptionist who was the guy that came in and cleared my tapes? Those kind of questions bug me. But the general, like, bigger questions that you're left with in this were interesting. So, yeah, it's definitely worth the watch. I definitely recommend it. And again, big thanks to the homie Supervillain Pete for mailing this out to me right here. And if you guys want to mail me a movie to watch, there's a link down below to a P.O. box. You ship it's, to OGP, care of Brendan Mitchell, Wet Movie 1. But the information, that link is right down below there. If you want me to watch a movie and you send it to me, I will watch it within 2 weeks of getting it in my hands. All that information is down below there. So check it out down there if you would. But anyways, thank you very much for watching. Thank you, John Travolta. Thank you, Nancy Allen. And thank you, John Lithgow, for a fun, interesting, entertaining movie. That being said, for the OGP, I am the OGP, and I'll see you guys in the next one. How about bye?